Okay, this is the first chapter to my one and only story on YouTube so far. So, anyways, here we go. Chapter 1. I opened my eyes and gasped for air. I was in a hospital bed. I felt the top of my head and noticed that I had bandages on. I didn't know why I was here. I sat there and tried to think about what had happened the day before I got here. Flashback. I remember waking up that morning. I went to the temple that my grandpa owned, where he taught karate to his students. I would go there every day to watch his students practice. There were more than 100 students. I could hear Grandpa giving them instructions. Since I was 8, I couldn't be in the class. I sat on the bench and watched instead. "Everyone, are you ready?" Grandpa yelled. "Yes, sir," the entire class replied. "Left punch." The entire class did as Grandpa instructed. As I sat there and watched, I looked at the entrance door and saw someone peeking inside the temple. It was Naruto, my grandpa's only son, and he's also my stepbrother. He had gotten here late today and tried to sneak in. As Naruto tried to sneak in quietly, he heard Grandpa's voice. "Naruto, you're late. You'll be cleaning the temple floors today. After class," Grandpa told him. "Right, sorry, master," Naruto replied nervously as he got in line. I watched them practice for 3 hours. "All right, everyone, take a break," Grandpa told the class. Grandpa walked over to me as I sat on the bench. "Mitsuki, I trust you haven't been waiting too long. How about some tea?" he told me. I smiled as he mentioned the tea. He came out of the small kitchen with a hot cup. "I thought I told you to stay at the house," he told me. "But it's boring. Can I watch, please, Grandpa?" I begged. "I suppose it's all right. But when the class is in session, I can't attend to you," he told me. "That's okay. I just want to watch them practice," I said. "Just remember to stay here. It's dangerous out there," he told me since the temple was near a forest that had bears and lions. I nodded my head in agreement, and Grandpa stood up and went back towards the students. "We'll be starting sparring sessions. Naruto, help the first years practice. I'll take care of the second years." "Yes, sir," Naruto replied. After the sparring sessions, Naruto walked over to me. "Hey, Mitsuki, came to watch us again?" He smiled. "Yes, I want to learn too," I said. "Don't worry, you'll be in our class next year." "I'll train hard and be better than you, Naruto," I said. "I'm sure you will," he said, laughing. "I'll talk to Dad about letting you join us early, okay?" he whispered. "Really? Thank you," I said excitedly. End of flashback. I tried to go further into my memories, but it all felt empty. I couldn't remember anything. In that moment, a nurse walked in and saw me. Her expression seemed very concerned. "You're awake," she said. She quickly ran out of the room, and I could hear her yelling to the doctor that I had woken up. A few seconds later, a doctor walked in. "Tell me, is there anything you want?" he asked politely. He looked shaken as well, behind a fake smile. I tried to speak, but no words came out. Why can't I talk? No sound is coming out, I thought to myself. Suddenly, I felt hot tears roll down my face, without any reason. Why am I crying? I thought to myself. "It's okay. If you can't talk, can you remember anything?" he asked. I shook my head no. "I see. Don't rush it all at once. You'll return to normal. But it might take a while," the doctor told me. Someone walked into the room in that moment. It was Keiko. She was my best friend, and was also a year older than me. "Mitsuki, you're coming home with us. My parents said you'll be at our house," she told me. I smiled as I was happy to see someone I recognized. "Let me speak to your parents," the doctor said as he left the room. I went with Keiko and her parents to their house. Keiko's mom looked at me as I sat in Keiko's room. "Mitsuki, you'll be sleeping in Keiko's room. If you need anything, tell us," she said. She suddenly remembered that I couldn't talk. "Just write it down on this," she said, handing me a journal and a pencil. I nodded yes and bowed to thank them for letting me stay. "Good night," she said, smiling warmly. I had been at the house for 3 days now. and I still couldn't speak or remember anything. As I went to sleep at night, I slipped into a strange dream. In the dream, I saw two shadowy figures fighting right in front of me. I sat there just watching them. I wasn't able to move. One of the figures punched the other in the stomach. His arm went through him, and blood splattered on me. After that, the dream switched. I saw myself next to a shadowy figure that was laying on the ground. He reached his hand out to me, slowly. He gave me a small rectangular white box that was in his hands. As I put the box in my pocket, I heard a voice. "After 5 years of training," the voice said. The dream faded as I heard Keiko call my name. I woke up gasping for air. "Are you okay?" she asked. I sat there silently. "You were crying in your sleep. Was it a bad dream?" she asked. As she hugged me, tears fell from my face. The next day, Keiko and I went to the kitchen. I watched her eat. "I have to go to school," she said. "Will you be okay by yourself?" she asked me. I nodded yes. "My mom called the school and they said you could take a few months off from school until you're better. I'll be back later," she told me. When Keiko left, I tried to think about my dream that I'd forgotten. As I walked outside, I suddenly remembered a small piece of my dream. That place in the dream. It was the temple. I have to see it, I said to myself as I started to run. As I got to the temple, I saw a horrible image. The temple was gone. All that remained were ashes of the entire temple and its other buildings. Suddenly, I felt a pain in my head. It hurt so much that I couldn't control it. I saw another piece of my dream. I saw a shadow give me a small box. "After 5 years of training," I heard the shadowy figure say as it died in the dream. My headache finally stopped as more memories flooded into my mind. I remembered putting the present in my dress pocket and then yelling out a name with tears in my eyes. But I couldn't hear what I was saying. As it faded, I suddenly began to cry as I assumed that the name that I yelled was Naruto. I cried in pain as I assumed that the worst thing had happened to him and my grandpa. I fell to my knees in agonizing pain, and suddenly I saw an illusion of the temple burning. The flames came from the temple and then surrounded me as I lie there. "They're dead. I'm alone," I said to myself as tears fell endlessly from my consciousness. I messed that up. "They're dead," I said. "I'm alone," I said to myself. As tears fell endlessly, my consciousness began to fade. I could hear a small sound as my body started to go numb. "Mitsuki?" I heard Keiko yell. "Mitsuki!" "Keiko," I said as my consciousness slipped. I heard my name being yelled even louder, and suddenly I awoke from my sudden traumatic trance. I was still on my knees, and the temple in front of me was pure ashes and rubble. "Keiko," I said, staring at her, tears filled my eyes. "It's okay, come on, let's go," she said as she grabbed me tightly. We ran to Keiko's house, and for the next 3 days, we hadn't talked to each other. One morning, Keiko finally talked to me. "Mitsuki, Mitsuki, Mitsuki!" she called as she shook me. I was asleep. I responded, still wanting to sleep. "It's been 3 days, and you still haven't eaten anything, so..." "I'm not hungry," I wrote on a piece of paper and gave it to her. I heard the paper drop, and I could feel Keiko's anger. "I said you're going to eat something right now!" she yelled. "Keiko, stop yelling. I'll eat, I promise." I stopped as I finally heard my own voice. "You talked," Keiko said, smiling happily. "We went downstairs, and I made some cereal. I ate it slowly." "Are you okay?" Keiko asked. "Yes," What's wrong? I asked back. You haven't eaten or slept since you went to the temple, she told me. You're right. I haven't been worried, but I'm fine now. Oh, I messed that up. You're right. I've just been worried, but I'm fine now, I said, trying to assure her. What happened back there? Your eyes were completely gray. You were going blank. A couple more seconds and you... She suddenly cut herself off, as she couldn't bring herself to finish her sentence. I'm fine now. No, I'm not. Keiko, what happened to them? To Naroda and Grandpa? I asked. I don't know, she said very quickly, turning her head. You're lying. I know you are, I said angrily. I can't say, she said angrily in an angry tone. Why not? I said in a sad tone. Because I was told not to. It's too soon, she said seriously. Keiko, you're my best friend. I'm so confused. I've been confused ever since I got out of the hospital. Help me. Please. Tell me the truth. I begged, wanting to hear the answers to why I lost my memories. Keiko's fist shook. She tightened her hands. In a fire, she said. A fire? I replied. From what I heard, someone started a fire that spread instantly. Your grandpa and Naroda got everyone else out. But you were nowhere. So they kept looking. When they found you, you were unconscious from the smoke. So they tried to get you out. The temple crumbled and it fell on them both. They managed to barely get you out. They died. We heard you were in the hospital, she told me. Thanks, Keiko, I said, holding back tears. Yeah. Just don't tell my mom that I told you, okay? She said, crying as her hair covered her eyes. We sat there and cried for hours. End of chapter 1. Well, thanks for reading, guys, and hopefully you guys liked it. Sorry about the stuttering and all the redos I've had to do in this chapter alone, but this is a one-shot moment, and I can only do this when when no one's in the house. So anyways, and also there's no real script for me to read off of. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.